Hello everyone, and welcome to Root Speak Live. I'm your host, Sonia Womack Miranda, and you are watching WKBY Live here in beautiful Chatham, Virginia. I have someone here today who is an amazing individual, and I am so thrilled to have Mr. Eugene Ricky Java Petty here to talk to us today. He's going to talk about his history, his genealogical search, his travels around the world, also an amazing career that he has held as a videographer. He's traveled to how many African countries?
8.
8 African countries. So I am so excited about hearing his story. Today's conversation is an important one because we're talking about ancestry, identity, reclaiming your roots, knowing where you're from. Mr. Petty has spent years researched his ancestry all the way back to Isaac Ike Petty, an African man enslaved by John Petty during the 1800s right here in Virginia. His journey represents something much larger than genealogy. It represents restoration, reclamation, reclaiming history that we thought was not there. We are reclaiming history that we thought was erased. Without further ado, I want to welcome Mr. Ricky Petty to Root Speak Live. Thank you so much for coming.
No, Sonia, thank you for inviting me. This has been a journey that I've been looking forward to.
Okay.
And I really appreciate this opportunity just to hang out with you.
Talk
about family.
I think I'm more excited than you are.
My Aunt Esther, she went and did the research about the land that we have. And just to put it in context, my great-great-grandfather, Isaac Petty,
Okay.
was an enslaved African. He lived an enslaved African. He belonged to John Petty, who lived with his sister in, I believe, the Halifax County area. And he had children, and I'm still doing the research to get more definitive information on who Isaac Petty's mother and father was, and then bring forward to. But I have more information on Isaac Petty.
Okay.
Alex Petty, and they call him Alex Petty. He was married 3 times, and two of his wives passed, and he was under the belief that he never had stepchildren. He didn't call them; they were his children. And he had a lot of children from 3 different wives, and 2 of them outlived him.
Yeah.
And the story goes that he was a farmer. He was the first mailman in Java, Virginia. And he had 3 farms: a 500-acre farm, a 600-acre farm, and I think it was a 200-acre farm. Over the course of time, the story was explained to me, down south, in particular in Pennsylvania County, during that time, they had what's known as sundown towns. You had to be in your place for the sunset. If you weren't, then there were repercussions and problems. And that's what happened to my great-grandfather, Alex Petty.
In Halifax or Pennsylvania
County.
So what you're now revealing about Pennsylvania County's history is that it used to be a sundown town. I've never heard that.
Because, and here's what's interesting, my great-grandfather, Alex Petty, as we call him, he was at one of his farms. After working on the farm at the barn, stable, whatever, preparing to go home. And 3 men came upon him and asked him, "What are you doing here?" His response, "I'm getting ready to go home." "Why are you here?" "I'm getting ready to go home. I finished my work, I'm getting ready to go home." As it turns out, he did not make it home on his own. And as you can understand, he was in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
He was, as they say, he was made unalive. He was killed. And
on his own farm.
On his own
working
farm.
on his own farm.
And
do you know what year that was?
Not exactly.
Okay.
But as the story was told and I found, he was killed. And to make it look like it was an accident, they took the reins of the horse, wrapped around his neck, sent the horse on his way. And horses by nature, they always return back home. So he was drugged down the stretch of property, stretch highway, that eventually became known as Petty Stretch. The horse went all the way home. I think my aunt told me the horse's name was Bob. The horse traditionally just went home and stood in front of the yard next to the stable. My great grandmother Lou Fanny Petty came out and found it. And over time, with the children that was part of the family and the farms that they had, because there was no major breadwinner in the family, they began to lose property because he couldn't pay the taxes on it. Over time, he lost a 600-acre farm. He lost a 500-acre farm. But he still maintained a 1 to 200-acre farm. And that farm is what we still have today. Our family still owns that property that my forefathers, ancestors, grandfathers, we all worked and grew up on so
diligently, hard for. And what always amazes me about our people,
yes,
you're talking about a person, your great,
yes,
who was enslaved.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, this is during the Jim Crow era,
Yes, it was.
that he now, at the end of slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow era, has 600-acre farm,
A 500-acre farm.
a 500-acre farm,
a 2 or 300-acre farm. And now we still have that 1 200-acre farm.
This is what I talk about when I say knowledge of self. And a lot of people, and I've had people say this to me, Mr. Eugene Petty, why are you digging up the past?
I've had it told of me too. Why? Because it's important.
Why are you digging up the past? Because I needed to know that my ancestors were resilient.
Yes, indeed.
That they could overcome anything. And that I needed to know that if they were left alone, they were thriving.
That's right.
They weren't thriving.
Right.
They owned more. I have it in the book, Unnamed: The Search for Sarah Miller. They owned more land than Caucasians out of slavery.
Exactly.
How do a people do that?
Exactly.
And here's the thing to me, is that you must look this stuff up to know who you are,
That's right.
to know how resilient your people are.
So true.
Because what you just stated earlier was, the only thing that we were made to really believe we were capable of is being enslaved. And that is our story, and it isn't.
And to your point, it's often said, what's wrong with black people? Nothing is wrong with black people. Something happened to us. What happened was that institution of slavery. And even in spite of that, we still, like you said, we were so resilient, we came out of that.
But if we, and this is what I call reclaiming your roots. This is my mission, my ministry now. I'm telling you, it's there. The information is there for now until someone decides to take it all out of the ancestry, the slave, the slave trade database. Until they start figuring out, well, they're uncovering their true history, their true self, who they truly are. And this is your time. You really, listening to your story, even my story, it's like, when I set out to research my history, I didn't really want to know about the Millers. My grandfather had already told us about the Millers. I didn't need to know anything about it. I like your story about how you've gone to all those African countries. Like, talk about why, once you discovered, if that was indeed the case, who you were, your ancestors, how that made you want to just go back to, the motherland. And what was that like for you? What was that experience? Was it overwhelming? Did you meet your people who were of your tribe? That's what I would like for you. How did it make how did it make you feel when you got to Africa, maybe for the first time? Was it overwhelming? Did you have an opportunity to meet people who were from your tribe because you've done your research through African ancestry? Just tell us and take us through that journey in your professional life as a videographer, as well as in your journey of self-discovery with researching your family roots.
Right. My first trip to Africa was to Senegal and the Gambia. This was back in 1987, 86, 87 time frame. First time in Africa, we went with Union Temple Baptist Church. Reverend Willie Wilson was the pastor there. He took a group of us there because we would have classes I must say, Reverend Wilson had a church that was way ahead of his time, with interested in African history. We as people of African ancestry. So he took a group of us there with him. My first time there was shocking because I couldn't imagine that's where we had come from as a people. Now, at that time, I couldn't identify specifically where my family came from. But as time went on, I was able to maneuver way around because during that time, Senegal back in the 80s was not the Senegal that it is now. It was not as well developed as it is now, as all the other African countries are now. And it was overwhelming because, you're around new people you have not seen before, but you see these people that look like you, somebody you know in your own home country. And the ironic thing is that with the studies that we were taking with Reverend Wilson in the class we took prior to, the young lady at the time, the mother of my children at the time, we wanted to get married in Africa. So Reverend Wilson and our teacher, he was Brother Ronnie Hilton, he made arrangements with the people in the Gambia. And understand, the Gambia is where Alex Haley's family history is from, who I was able to meet his ancestors that you see in the movies and in the documentaries. 3 particular Gambian men was his ancestors, was his family members.
Wow.
We had a chance to meet them. We got married there in the village, and though they were Muslims, we didn't have a traditional Muslim because we're Christians, but they gave us the best representation of what we could have in that village. And then, of course, we came back here and did the official ceremony. But that was the beginning of a self-awareness, self-understanding of this is who we are. And that just propelled into going back. And the interesting, when we were in Senegal, we went to Gorée Island. And of course, Senegal, the Gambia is that little country inside Senegal, inside that horseshoe, small country. But we went to Gorée Island. And Gorée Island is one of the places where, during the transatlantic slave trade, that's where they captured our ancestors, brought them to Gorée Island, placed them in these little small boxes, small spaces. And to add her to injury, the front of this huge castle is shaped like a ship. And they were placed inside, and we got a chance to go inside these places. They were placed in there and experience what it's like to be in such a small space, being processed, if you will, be taken aboard on a ship. You leaving a structure that looks like a ship to be born on a ship to go to where you think you'll never return. And that translated into me going back again with a fellow co-worker whose father was Ghanaian. My second trip was to Ghana back in 1996, 95, 96 time frame, 97 time frame. And that started a whole new understanding of what this is all about. To go to Cape Coast Castle, to be around all that, to go into those slave quarters.
That smell.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
The smell.
The smell.
I said, God wanted us to know how inhumane
Yeah.
man could be. So he allowed the smell to remain
Yeah.
in the castle for 400 years.
Even until up until this, to your point, even to this very day, when you go, you cannot escape the smell. And I've been back with based on it by the nature of work I do. I've been back, and the smell's still there.
I was there in 2018. Yes,
It's still there. And then I went back in 2006, and it's still there. You went in 2018. It's still
it's
there.
never going to
It will
go.
never
I
leave.
know it's the Most High that has allowed that smell to stay as a reminder
Mhm.
of the cruelty that was done to a people. It's how can you explain it?
And to your point, not in addition to the smell, my sister Marcella Hicks, Adjua Hicks, she was the one that took us, me and us back when we went, not on vacation, but through that door of no return. We went back through the door of no return. We returned through the door of no return. She shared with me that at Cape Coast Island, there's a place that water is troubling water. She says troubling because our ancestors knew in their praying and praying without not knowing that they would never be back. Their prayers began to trouble that water. And even now, when you go back, if you understand what's going on, and you go along that beach shore, and you step out into the water, it's troubled water.
Yeah, I remember.
And it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there. And it will always be there. For those that are unconscious and for those that are conscious.
Mm-hmm.
For those that are conscious, they understand. For those unconscious, they just wonder what's going on. But it's still there.
Okay. Didn't travel there initially because of your research. You really went with your church and you wound up getting married but tell us about once you again finalized, you found out who you were, you did your African ancestry, and now you realize, okay, this is real, this is true, I've connected the dots.
Yes.
Tell us about what that feels like.
You know, now that I've been able to connect those dots, it helps me to understand more of why I'm doing this and to continue to research, and which allowed me to. And I'm still working on that. My mom's side of it with the village, with the Cameroon, because that's the matrilineal side of it, and to bring that forward. But even with that, it's allowed me to see that it's all one collective unit. My mom's side, my dad's side, and then to be able to connect all of that and bring it forward to where it brings it back to my family history in Java, Virginia. Because that African man, Ike Petty, there's a story that during the Civil War, he was an enslaved man.
Mm-hmm.
He had been given a horse, a small horse that he raised from a foal, and he raised the horse. He took care of the horse, but then as the war began to end, these Union soldiers, supposed to be the good guys, came, and that platoon, the captain of that platoon, needed transportation. And they saw he had, and the horse, by that time the horse was going to be a full-grown horse. They took his horse. And he said, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm providing for my family. What am I supposed to do? They said, that's not our problem. They took us, but even in the state that he was in, not being able to read and write as we're able to do now, he recognized that something was not right. And as I run it, I found the documentation of how he went to court, went through the whole legal system, through the whole process, even up to as far as Washington, D.C. And I found it and have documented, have this information here to show the process he went through. He had a lawyer, someone to stand with him, and he said, all I want to do is get my horse back. And they tried to say, well, how much it cost? He said, there's no price for it. They paid him, I think, $100. And all he had to do was, when he finally accepted that, all he was able to do was put an X. It's a sign, okay, I'm in agreement with this. He never got the horse back, but he was compensated for that. But what that showed me was that even in spite of, during that time, he still was man enough to say, this is my property. You're going to take my property and not compensate me for this. So I'm going to use your system, your so-called legal system, to get some kind of reparation. Right? And he did that.
I think, again, we underestimate the courage of our ancestors.
That's right.
I think, again, we are underestimating the fact when we know that they couldn't read or write, so they thought. So they thought they could. Not only could they read and write, they could comprehend what they were reading.
Yes.
So in so many instances, I've seen it also. And your conversation is actually bringing me to tears because it's taking me back to the things that I've uncovered as well.
Yes.